The Conjuring, Last Rites. On September 5th.
Hey, come down here! I need your help! Hooray! Hooray! Hooray!
The Conjuring, Last Rites. Only in theaters September 5th. Rated R.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. When you visit the doctor, you probably hand over your insurance, your ID, and contact details. It's just one of the many places that has your personal info. And if any of them accidentally expose it, you could be at risk for identity theft. LifeLock monitors millions of data points a second. If you become a victim, they'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year at LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
The left versus the right. Entertaining and informative. On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome back to The Left versus the Right. And on this Saturday afternoon, 2 days before Labor Day, the candidates for mayor are warming up for the last 60 days of battle before New York gains either a new mayor or continues with the other one. So as the famous horse racing announcer Fred Capicella says, and down the stretch they come. And as they come down the stretch, we have with us today a gentleman who ran for mayor in 2013. He ran as a Republican, leaning a little more to the liberal side than perhaps a normal Republican would. But he ran in the Democratic primary, so he knows all about running for mayor. He knows all about running a radio station, and he knows all about the intricacies of working in business. Please welcome my great friend, John Catsimatidis. John?
Well, David, I mean, we're working on Labor Day. I mean, that's the way we grew up. I grew up working 7 days a week, and I grew old working 7 days a week. And you talk about liberal. I actually had the nomination of the Liberal Party.
That's right.
Not only did I have the nomination, or we were seeking a nomination of the Republican Party, I had the Liberal Party nomination, and it ended up, Joe. I was going against Joe Loder for the Republican nomination, and I like Joe. Joe is a very, very smart guy. And I really liked it. I could never say anything bad about Joe Loder. The only thing I could say is I'm better than Joe. Except what happened was, at that time, Rudy was very famous. Rudy Giuliani, his old boss, and he was supporting Joe Loder. And I was actually running against Rudy.
That's really what happened.
What was my chance of winning against Rudy? How would you say it in the old neighborhood? Slim and none?
Slim and none.
Well, that was the good news, because I went back to work on my business, and I did, and we created some big, beautiful buildings in Brooklyn. I worked with Eric Adams there, and he was a Brooklyn Borough president during that period of time, Brooklyn never had a skyscraper, any skyscrapers. And by the time Eric Adams finished being a Brooklyn Borough president, you had so many tall buildings, so many great buildings in Brooklyn. And then, don't forget, Curtis's second wife, third wife, fourth wife, I don't know, I lose track. She represented me when she was a lawyer, and now she went and became a Queensboro president, right? And
she's now the DA in Queens.
Yeah, now she's DA, but Queens didn't have a skyline until she got there too.
You know, John, that's an interesting question. Why would Manhattan be the only borough? I mean, there was no rule that said the other boroughs couldn't build things up. Maybe sometimes the people that lived in those boroughs didn't want to feel like they were living in an overcrowded place like Manhattan. When you tried to do it, it worked. What did you do that people prior to you probably imagined but couldn't sustain?
Well, Brooklyn, we owned the land because I bought the land like 20 years before, 30 years before, and we bought it for nothing. How was the old expression? We bought it for nickels and dimes. And there was opportunities. And when Blumberg was mayor, and he upzoned a lot of areas. So all of a sudden you wake up one day and between the land you owned for 20 years, 30 years is upzoned to different, you could build higher, taller,
right,
and denser. And all of a sudden the property's worth a lot of money, and we decided to, instead of selling it, to build it.
And the properties not only were built, but they don't, for those who are afraid of what it would look like when the construction was completed, they really don't look like they're overcrowding the tenants and the people who are owners that live in that building and that kind of thing. That's a difficult achievement to make because, we're in New York City, and whenever you try to do something that's new, people have something to say about it. But you've heard very little complaint about building up the boroughs of Brooklyn and Queens.
There were nice buildings, and I remember the first building we built on Myrtle Avenue in Brooklyn. Letitia James was the district leader, and her people, and Letitia came and was picketing me.
Why am I not surprised?
I said, "Why are you picketing me?" He says, "We need jobs for our neighborhood people." I said, "Well, give them jobs. We need people." And from that day on, we always did the right thing.
Well, that's terrific. So now, having been a candidate for mayor yourself, what are your observations about the conduct of the four candidates that are left in this particular race, being the current mayor, Eric Adams, the former governor, Andrew Cuomo, and obviously the Assemblyman Zoran Mandani, who is ahead in the polls, and of course, WABC's own Curtis Sliwa, who is not working at WABC. He's a candidate right now, but also head of the Guardian Angels.
Now,
how do you?
Let's go one by one.
Okay.
Zoran, nobody ever knew him. And I talked to people that were in the assembly. Nobody knew him in the assembly. He was absent most of the time. He never proposed any bills, I think.
I think he passed 3 bills
in how long?
In 4 or 5 years.
Is that good or bad?
That's pretty bad because, when you first come to the legislature, what they usually do is they ask you, tell us a couple of bills that, they may not change the world, but something in your district that you want, and we'll pass them for you. So my first year, I passed about 8 or 9 bills because...
In 1 year?
1985.
Yeah.
And at that particular time, it wasn't an affront to the Republicans. It was bills really to try to alleviate a homeless problem we were having on the Upper West Side in particular. So, but
well,
keep
we
going
both
about...
Came, Governor, we both came from the same place.
From Harlem.
We came from Harlem, both of us. And by the way, when I had the Liberal Party nomination and I go to Staten Island and they look at me with eyes down, "You're a liberal?" And I said, "Yeah," because the word liberal to me meant I came from Harlem like you did, and I was working with the Police Athletic League, which Mr. Morgenthau trained me. And
so you were working with the Police Athletic League.
I was there for 40 years.
Wow.
I've been on the board and working. And I used to go to Harlem, and we used to go to 119th Street, and me and Commissioner Kelly would be there together, and there's 100 kids in that corner. See the corner right there? There's 100 kids. And I turned to the commissioner, and I said, "How many of those kids can we save?"
Wow.
And, we hope it's 10%, 20%, 30%, 40%. The sad thing is it's never 100%.
But it's a whole lot better than what was going on there earlier, because I started in 1985, and the crime issues were really pretty intense in the early 90s. But I'd say toward the...
You know where the crime, Governor? I was born on I was not born there, but I lived there since I was 6 months old, 135th Street. And my mom would go down Amsterdam Avenue, and there was a Safeway store at about 128th Street, 127th Street, and we'd go down to 125th Street, walk across 125th Street, and there was a Army-Navy store there, and there was I remember Bloomstein's.
Bloomstein's was there, right?
99-cent sale.
Right.
And nobody was afraid of walking through Harlem. You know when they became afraid?
When the drug trafficking started.
That's when the kids came back from Vietnam as drug addicts.
Yeah.
So Vietnam took a toll on our kids, took a toll on our people. But it took a toll that nobody talks about, because a lot of them came back as drug addicts.
I remember someone in my family who had come back from Vietnam, and I guess he was all out of it. He comes to our place and starts banging on the door at like 11:30 in the evening. And of course, we're like scared to death. What is this about? And finally, my father goes out there and confronts him. And it turned out it was a cousin of mine, but Vietnam had done a number on him. And he was not the same person as when he had gone into the service. And he didn't get too many services when he came out. So it was a sad thing all the way around. But certainly there's been a reinvestment in that neighborhood, and things are a lot better now than they were 25 years ago. But go ahead.
But I'll tell you, it's just sad, the transition that New York has gone through. That's why, we're going back to the mayor's race. Zoram, and that's how we started this conversation. I don't think he's qualified to run for mayor. I don't think he's qualified to. How do you take somebody that was an assemblyman with 5 employees and tell him to run General Motors with 300,000 employees?
John, when I was in the state Senate, I became the deputy to the minority leader in 1995. And then in 2002, the members were in revolt against the leader at the time because they felt that he had given some money to some Republican candidates. So when you're the Democratic leader, you're not supposed to give money to the Republican candidates. I understood why he did it, but when it came out, people wanted him out, and they wanted me to succeed him. So in the beginning of 2003, I'm now the minority leader of the Senate, and I've got about 90 employees. And, I had been a state senator that, you had 3 or 4 people in your office, and that's it. And that period from 2003 to 2006 is when I learned how to manage a large group of people. And so in 2006, when the Attorney General, Elliot Spitzer, was running for governor, and he asked me to be his lieutenant governor, I was more than happy to do that because I knew I would be all right. Now, when he left, suddenly in 2008, now I've got tens of thousands of employees, but some of the pointers that you learn from managing a large number of people, you can actually adapt even if more people are there. As long as you have 6 or 7 people that you trust watching everyone. If you just let people do whatever they want to do, they'll kill you. You'll be out in no time.
Yep. I'll tell you, the other 3 candidates, look, Mayor Adams was the Brooklyn Borough president when all the skyscrapers were built in Brooklyn, and he did a good job. And listen, does he have some problems, odds and ends here and there? Yes, but I think all the candidates, nobody's perfect. They all have different problems, and I think the constituents, I think the people voting have to decide who they feel the most comfortable with. Look, Governor Cuomo, he's capable of running the city, and Eric Adams, Mayor Adams, is capable of running it. And Curtis, he's smart enough to do it and hire the right people. But Zohran, I have zero confidence in.
So on that note, we're going to take a few minutes out here and let our sponsors exalt the audience with some ideas they may have for them. Then we'll come back and continue the conversation with the one and the only John Catsimatidis. You wouldn't dare touch your radio dial and turn to any other station right now for fear of reprisals. We'll be right back.
The Left versus the Right on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
If you work as a manufacturing facilities engineer, installing a new piece of equipment can be as complex as the machinery itself. From prep work to alignment and testing, it's your team's job to put it all together. That's why it's good to have Grainger on your side. With industrial-grade products and next-day delivery, Grainger helps ensure you have everything you need close at hand through every step of the installation. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Blue sky.
Some people think nature is like this, but actually, it's like this. Mother Nature's not all sunshine and rainbows. Nature can be hotter than a sauna and colder than an Arctic skinny dip. That's why Columbia engineers everything we make for anything nature can throw at you. Columbia, engineered for whatever.
Hey there, travelers. Kaylee Cuoco here. Sorry to interrupt your music, great artist BT Dubs, but wouldn't you rather be there to hear it live? With Priceline, you can get out of your dreams and into your dream concert. They've got millions of travel deals to get you to that festival, gig, rave, sound bath, or sonic experience you've been dreaming of. Download the Priceline app today, and you can save up to 60% off hotels and up to 50% off flights. So don't just dream about that trip. Book it with Priceline.
Go to your happy price, Priceline.
This episode is brought to you by Wayfair. Podcasts follow us everywhere. Whether you're cooking in the kitchen, chilling in the living room, or pretending to fold laundry in the bedroom. And with Wayfair, every one of those rooms can tell a story of its own. Their curated collections of furniture styles and prices make Wayfair the trusted destination to turn your home into your happy place. Shop everything home at wayfair.com with free and easy delivery straight to your door.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
The Left versus the Right. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
We are back with the legendary leader of WABC and so many other businesses that he's involved with, someone who is sought after for advice by none less than the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, and someone who, at the same time, as the poets have written, can walk with kings, but retain the common touch. Did you like that introduction, John?
I don't know. You have a soapbox I can stand on top?
I worked on that all day. So, but let's get to, in this particular mayor's race, the issue of Mamdani is that he finished at first 10 points, but then inevitably after the recount, 14 points ahead of the second place finisher in the primary, former Governor Andrew Cuomo.
Well, you go back to ranked choice voting, Governor. Ranked choice voting, I don't know who invented it, but I think it's a scam.
You will not get even the slightest opposition to that thought from me. But here he is. He's got a lot of people in the streets. he's going to these rallies, and a lot of them are younger, and perhaps a lot of them are very confused. They hear people say things like the subways should be free, the buses should be free. If you're under 26 and you commit a misdemeanor, there won't be a problem. We'll let you go. Prostitution should be legalized. I mean, this is Bonfire of the Vanities, profoundly greater than you would ever think. And I thought that there might be a way to get one of the candidates to leave the race to diminish Mr. Mamdani's possibility of winning. But I don't think any of them will do that. The one who I thought should have left the race was former Governor Andrew Cuomo. And the reason is he's 66 years old. In politics, that gives him still another 15 years to make a mark. If he got up and said, listen, I wanted so badly to be the mayor of the city, I can't even tell you. But I will not risk the possibility that this man becomes mayor. So the only thing I can do, to the best of my ability, is to get out of this race and help the candidate that gives him the biggest challenge. Now, he didn't want to do that. He's worked very hard. I'm not saying that he should have done it, but I think every 3 days, John, I hear another rumor about Eric Adams is going to go to a major university and he's going to be on the board, or someone's talking to Curtis about giving the Guardian Angels $1.5 million if he'll get out. I mean, these rumors are just exacerbating the problem. And the problem is that Mamdani, in my opinion, is not really being faced down and challenged as he should be. What do you say to that?
I think the ideal situation is one-on-one.
Yes.
But I think there's also the possibility of Mamdani being shot down. Don't forget the old song, Flying High in April, Shot Down in May. Frank Sinatra song. And it happened to in 2020, it happened to Andrew Yang, didn't it? He was flying high in July, shot down in August, or whatever it was.
Once he was forced into the public eye in the debates, and even some of the ways that he was campaigning, and even some of the things that he said, he obliterated himself. Now, this candidate, John, I think is a little smarter than that. But where I think he has a vulnerability is that, let's remember, he is a socialist. We're not calling him a name. He says he's a socialist. So that's what he is.
You know what a socialist is? It's a communist without a gun.
Wow.
I mean, don't forget, me and Curtis were down in Havana together.
I remember that.
And Fidel Castro, we were with Fidel Castro, and he always had a smile on his face, and he always was very polite and very greeting. But deep in the heart, I mean, he was a different person when he was not with people like us.
Well, one of the pervasive kind of postulates to being a socialist is that you will stick with the party and the movement. So if you are 100% socialist, the other socialists love you. If you slide down to 99%, they might not have guns, but they'll find a way to kill you. It's a real rigid type of political philosophy that doesn't take into account different events and different issues that arise when you are running a city. And I think Mr. Mamdani has no idea what those situations could be. And because of that...
Remember, Governor Paterson, you got to remember, when Fidel Castro was taking over Cuba, he was complaining about the then dictator or then president or whatever he was, Batista. And he says, Batista has all the money and the people are poor. Well, all they did is switched Batista for Fidel Castro, because then Fidel Castro had all the money and the poor was even poorer.
Exactly. It's just like in that book, Animal Farm, that was written by George Orwell, where the animals inevitably run the humans off of the farm, but then there's a dispute between two of the animals, and one of them lines the others up, and they chase the other pig. They were pigs. The other pig has to leave. He probably was killed. They never say, but he disappears. And then as the years go on, they said the pigs more and more started to look human. And then one night, the pigs sat down and had a poker game because they became human and they were dictators. That, when you are throwing out a dictator, beware of what might come next, because someone such as Mamdani, to me, if he even showed some contrition, which he did after the policeman was killed, the Muslim policeman, and he went to the family, and then he started pulling back off of his defunding the police oration. And so far, the other socialists have not reacted to him. But that might be because they really think they have a chance to win. But I think these 60 days are going to be quite identifying as to who really can step forward and manifest the support to lead the city, because in the next few years, we're going to need it badly.
Governor, I got to remind you something. Mondami is complaining that New York City is too many rich people and much too many poor people. And I reminded something. 1% of the people in New York pay 48% of the taxes. What happens if there were 1% left?
You would have a significant downturn in the city's revenues. You would start to see cuts in services. You would see overcrowded class sizes.
And what happens to the pension funds when there's no money to fund them?
They're diminished and the investors go away. And you, in a sense, have a depression that the city would go through, not even a recession, because you wouldn't have the resources to reverse all that was lost, because the resources have gone away, because people thought, you know what, I don't have to put up with this abuse. I can move to Florida. You know what, I don't have to put up with this abuse. I can move to Arizona. And those are the places people are moving. And some of these states like North Carolina, their populations are multiplying because of the number of people who lived in the greater metropolitan area who moved down there because they had a safer life, a better life, their children get a better education, and they don't have to hear all of this diatribe that goes...
I'll give you an example, and you were the governor, and you know about budgets. In New York, I was talking to Steve... the senator from Florida. And he said to me that Florida is up to 23,500,000 people in 2024.
Which is about 4 million more than we have.
And New York State is down to 19.7 or something like that.
Yeah.
And we're sitting here in New York City, and the budget for the state is 250, 260, and the budget for New York City is 110. So 250 and 110 is
360.
360 for 19,700,000 people. Florida, the total budget is 110 billion for 23,500,000 people. Something doesn't
they have
sound right. And they got more retirees in Florida.
Oh, you can't stop them. They are escaping to Florida quicker than people were crashing the borders to get in Texas and the border states, because they see opportunity there. Their friends move down there, and how you doing? Oh, we had a great afternoon, and the weather's nice, and and I'm started a small business down here. I mean, the opportunities are are prevailing. And that would be the result if we have this kind of discord after the November election. That's why the November election is really so important. Now, are you really going to get rid of your stores if Mamdani wins?
You can't, you can't fight. What's the old expression? You can't fight City Hall.
Right.
So I don't know what I'm going to do. But he says, how do you lower prices? Well, if we didn't, congestion pricing, that increased prices. Because the truckers are charging us more money for the product coming into the stores. And now, besides congestion pricing, they want to put on a commuter tax. So less people will come into the city.
Right.
There's one, how do you tax the tax? Commercial real estate tax on top of the real estate taxes. So, in other words, you have a real estate taxes, and then you're paying commercial rent tax on top of the real estate taxes. How do you tax the tax?
They're finding a way, and really the result is that the government really doesn't have the resources to address the problems that are going to exist if you have a lower and lower revenue collection. And that's really what's going to happen if that's the case. Now, what do you think would be the plan for the three other candidates other than Mamdani to confront him and to upset this sort of waltz that he is making into City Hall right now?
Well, there's all kinds of investigations coming on. Do you think that President Trump, some of the things he threw out the last week or two were empty promises, saying that I'm not going to allow New York City to fall into socialism? Do you think that the fact is that people supporting different things, creating candidates and the names that President Trump threw out, do you think that was without merit? Well, I'm going to tell you something. If some of these candidates have been created, and what my concern is, it's okay to create them, but if they're created by foreign entities, how does that smell to you?
It smells bad, but I would say my reflex reaction, having known Curtis for about 12 or 13 years now, having known Eric for 35 years, and Andrew Cuomo, I just feel like when I was born, I knew Andrew Cuomo. I don't see in any of them any control that anyone has over them.
But how about Zoham?
Oh, that's different.
That's what I'm saying to you.
That's different.
This is where we feel that just an opinion, and because I think I could use that word without consequence, we think that there's something wrong there.
A Manchurian candidate.
I mean, Manchurian candidate, you could say that. I mean, he went to Uganda, and there was behind a big, big house. I thought he says he doesn't want to, he doesn't believe in billionaires or millionaires. But he lived like a millionaire. I mean, in Uganda, he had, I understand, a big house behind big walls and people with machine guns protecting him. Who is this guy?
He is almost, it's an anathema because one of the pieces of legislation that he's talking about in terms of housing, where he lives right now, would be a beneficiary. Many others would have the rents go over their heads. And he didn't exactly have an answer when reporters tried to explain to him what this would actually produce. And, whenever a candidate comes from out of nowhere, like you've just never seen him before, and I can't, in my years, I don't know if you ever saw anyone.
Chicago, Barack Obama. Nobody ever heard about him in Columbia University. He went from state senator to president in how long? 3.5 years?
About the same time that another Chicago resident, Abraham Lincoln, did. Yes.
Okay. But things were a little bit different. I don't know. I just don't know. I think that I'm concerned I'm concerned for our cities. I'm concerned for our state. I'm concerned for our country. Look at what happened in Washington, D.C. I mean, can we talk about the crime problem in Washington, D.C.? I mean, President Trump went in there and says, I felt like Mighty Mouse. Here I come to save the day. And all of a sudden, from the biggest crime city in the world, Washington, D.C., all of a sudden, it's safe again.
It's interesting, John, when the president first did it, I don't think that a president should be supervising law enforcement in Washington, D.C. I didn't think that. But, and the first day, it certainly seemed that way because they sent the National Guard to the same place where they were doing community policing. So you had all these police and no one was walking down the streets. But when they straightened that out, even the mayor of Washington, D.C. has congratulated President Trump on what he was able to accomplish. And I would think that mayors in other cities, Chicago, Los Angeles, San Francisco, even in some of the southern states, would want to replicate that type of issue because President Trump changed the whole dynamic, and he did it in a short period of time. And I don't see any reason why the other states shouldn't be really trying to emulate what he was able to do. Before you respond, John, we're just going to take a few moments out and let our commercial sponsors talk to us because they keep us in business here. I'm David Paterson. This is The Left versus the Right. I'm with John Catsimatidis. I couldn't be in a better place, and neither could you right after these messages.
The Left versus the Right on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
The Twisted Tale of Amanda Knox is on Hulu. In 2007, Amanda Knox was studying abroad in Italy. She had no idea her dream would turn into a nightmare. Inspired by the actual events of her wrongful conviction and 15-year fight for freedom, watch the new Hulu original series, The Twisted Tale of Amanda Knox. Now streaming on Hulu and Hulu on Disney Plus for bundle subscribers. Terms apply.
I'm Ashley Graham, and as a parent, I know the back-to-school transition can be a lot. When it comes to wellness, Ollie supports me and my family through it all. Kids Multi is big in my house. It supports their immune system, and they love to take it. A win-win for everyone. Shop these products at ollie.com or retailers nationwide. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Discover Ralph's Club New York, the new fragrance by Ralph Lauren. With blackcurrant, vanilla, and sandalwood, this scent embodies the sensuality and confidence of Usher. Like the city that never sleeps, this masculine fragrance lasts for 12 hours. Ralph's Club New York. Ralph Lauren. Shop now at Macy's.com.
This episode is brought to you by Dogfish Head Craft Brewery. The Grateful Dead and Dogfish Head have gotten the band back together with the release of Grateful Dead Juicy Pale Ale, a light-bodied pale ale brewed with sustainable Kernza grains, granola, and heaps of good karma for a refreshing brew that's music to your taste buds. Available nationwide. Visit dogfish.com to find Grateful Dead Juicy Pale Ale in your neck of the woods. Dogfish Head Craft Brewery is located in Milton, Delaware. Please drink responsibly.
The Left versus the Right. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
We're back on The Left versus the Right as we come up to 4 o'clock when John Sterling will take the radio air and talk sports. Right now, we're talking government. We're talking community policing. We're talking public safety. And we're talking how to make New York as great as we'd like America to be. And we're with one of the great New Yorkers, John Catsimatidis. So, John, when we left, we were talking about what President Trump was able to accomplish, though the mayor of Washington, D.C. congratulated him out on the West Coast. Gavin Newsom is warning, if you bring that stuff out here, we won't let you do it. I don't think that's a constructive way to address the crime situation in your state or in your city.
Well, I think if you could solve New York City's crime situation, I think that's the most important thing. I remember, David, when I was 14 years old, I lived in Harlem, and I would take the IRT from 137th Street all the way to DeKalb Avenue for Brooklyn Tech. Wow. I was 14 years old, and nobody thought anything of it. Nobody. One of the problems, and you could tell us that, there's a lot of mentally ill people in the system. At one point, I was told we had 28,000 people in mental hospitals. I mean, when you have 8 million people, there's got to be some of them that are sick.
Yes.
So now I understand there's only 6,000 people in mentally ill hospitals. What happened to the other 22,000, 23,000?
They're on the streets.
They became homeless in the streets.
Yeah.
And they're mentally, they don't belong there. They're there to prey on anybody else. And it's just something is wrong. And we have to fix that problem.
I think what's wrong is that the mental institutions had a bad reputation going back to the 50s and maybe even the 40s of being a little bit abusive with the mentally ill who were there. And you had movies like One Who Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest with Jack Nicholson. And so there was this idea of letting people out more, which all it did was add to the crime rate outside the mental institution and make it more difficult for the people who live there. I think there is a way to use medication, to use the right types of healthcare workers, and the right kind of facility to take more of those people in there. And I don't think it would cost that much money.
You used to have 28,000 people in jails. And now you're down to 6,000. What happened to the other 20,000? All of a sudden, everybody became honest?
Everybody is back on the street doing what they used to do before they got sent to jail. That's the problem. And in terms of the solution, we have seen some mayors, Rudolph Giuliani being one of them, and Michael Bloomberg being another one. And even in the one term he had, David Dinkins turned around the crime rate in his last 2 years. And they got a theory and they stuck to it. And in Dinkins' case, he had Police Commissioner Ray Kelly, and he still talks about that. But you haven't seen that kind of commitment. You certainly didn't see it from Mr. de Blasio when he was mayor. You did see it with Mayor Eric Adams, but there's so many other issues that go on with him that it's hard to say. But crime has been down with him as well. But still, it isn't really just the numbers.
But the problem is Tom Homan, and we've said this before on our show, that he came to New York and sent in by President Trump. And President Trump loves New York. Whether you like him or don't like him, the guy loves New York. And Tom Homan is the director of ICE, which is the immigration and whatever ICE stands for. You know what ICE stands for?
Not at the moment.
It takes care of it takes care of the migrants that came in are criminals. So, and like I said to President Trump, look, the hardworking migrants, I have a little bit of understanding, But the ones that are criminals, murderers, rapists, drug dealers, what do we need these people in our country for? And I want to know, and the problem that I'm pulling my hair out and I'm scratching my head and I got a big bald spot, and is why are some of the Democrats insisting on not deporting them? I don't understand. If we're deporting criminals, why don't we want to deport them?
Well, I'm a Democrat.
I know. And I was a Democrat too.
And I think people who commit crimes, particularly people who commit crimes who are migrants who just came to the country, should be deported. No ifs, no ands, no buts. They should be deported.
Why did we allow them to come in? Can you figure that out?
That part is, I think there was a sense in the Democratic Party that our country became great as a result of immigration. But the immigration that made our country great were people who were not criminals from whence they came. But people in the party think that opportunity should be extended to people who want to come here and profess that they're looking for freedom, they're looking for work, they're looking for opportunity. But too many of them are looking for trouble. And you just can't let everybody come in and hope that everyone will act accordingly and act justly. And that's the problem we have.
Look, let me tell you. I was vice chairman of Ellis Island Foundation. And Bill Fugazi was chairman. Lee Iacocca was honorary chairman. And Ellis Island would bring in a zillion immigrants. Immigration, yes, but they would check them for diseases.
Exactly.
They would check them to make them pledge allegiance to our country, not pledge allegiance to some other country.
And in terms of that kind of indoctrination, I think that you really are able to tell who really wants to come here and be a contributor to the great society that we have in America, and who is really just trying to get in here because they're being chased in another country for some crime they committed.
And look, we want to bring in people that want to work, like my father, like my grandfathers that came in. They came in to work 70 hours a week, 80 hours a week to make their kids a better life for their kids. Though all the diners, all the Greek diners that were out there, and the fathers worked 100 hours a week. You know why the Greek diners are out of business? Because their kids became lawyers, accountants, doctors. And there's nobody to run the Greek diners anymore.
Yeah.
So, I mean, those are the kind of immigrants we want that come in to do America is the land of the gold on the streets, and you just have to work hard and achieve it, not to come in and change it. And that's what I get angry. The people that want to change America. I love America the way me and you grew up.
What are the changes that you think people who come to this country promote? And first of all, if you come to a new country, I don't think you should be trying to change anything. I think you should be trying to fit in.
Unless you're getting paid by the old country.
Oh, well, that's a possibility. But that's part of the problem, is that when people get here, it's almost as if we all got here at the same time. In other situations, years ago, when you came here, you were kind of at the bottom of the totem pole, but you would work 60, 80 hours a week to get to lower middle class. You work hard still, then you become part of the middle class, and inevitably for a good number of people, you can gain a great amount of wealth. But it starts by working your way up, not by coming in and changing all the rules.
So here we go, full circle. 1% of New Yorkers pay 48% of the taxes. Does that make any sense?
It is consistent with what the top 1% have been giving in taxes pretty much around the country. It's pretty consistent with that number. There are a couple of places where the 1%, there are a few places where the 1% are paying over half of the revenues in some states. But it creates a situation where if you don't start creating a quality of life for those people who are wealthy enough to contribute in taxes, they're going to move. And no percent creates no revenues.
So we got a problem. If the people that pay the 1% really get upset at defunding the police and their safety is at stake versus going down to Florida and paying 1/3 the taxes, and they feel safer because if somebody enters their home and they shoot them,
they won't get prosecuted. Right.
In New York, somebody enters your home and you shoot them, you got to be the one worried about going to jail.
Very much so.
Well, we love New York. I just hope that common sense prevails. God has looked over our country, and Washington is doing well. The free world is doing well. Now we have to worry that on November 4th, that God will watch over our city, and our city will go in the right direction.
Well, John, it has been my high honor to interview you today, and certainly have a rest of the Labor Day weekend. I hope you and the family really enjoy yourselves, take a moment out, and at the same time, we're all thinking about our country, we're all thinking about our city, and we're all just hoping that whatever transpires in the next 60 days will be something that will inure to the benefit of so many people. We have such a diverse population. We're Asian, we're black, we're Hispanic, we're white.
The most diverse population of almost any city.
Yes.
I think I was told that in New York City we speak 185 different languages.
More languages than there are at the UN countries. Can you believe that?
I can believe that.
In our own city.
And it's look, we're diverse, and there are, just because we got 8.5 million people, if 28,000 of them are crazy, put them away. If 28,000 of them are criminals, put them away, and let the rest of the 8.5 million live in peace.
Well, no truer thoughts, I think, would ever grace this audience than what you just said. I think we all really want to be happy. I think we all really want to flourish. And we think about...
And we want our kids to be safe walking around. And we don't have to worry when that phone rings at midnight that something's wrong.
Right. And you now have a grandson who's going to grow up in an environment, hopefully, that will be better than this generation that preceded him has. And in that respect, we can really, with a little prayer and a little help from the efforts of all of us, get a city that we're proud to live in, that we flourish in, and you don't walk down the street looking over your shoulder, as so many of us have had. And you know good and well that I was in an incident myself last year.
96th Street and 3rd Avenue.
96. And it was quite
Was it 3rd Avenue?
It was actually 2nd Avenue.
2nd Avenue. And the former governor of New York State, they're beating up him and his stepson.
Yes, until I threw this guy into the window at McDonald's and he fell on the ground.
You're lucky McDonald's didn't sue you.
Yeah, I know, exactly. Well, everybody, We're here from 3 to 4 on Saturdays. We'll be back next Saturday. We're here on the left versus the right. This could not be a show that could be topped, so I may just take next Saturday off. But no, I'll be back here next week to talk about the election and to talk about the momentum of New York and to talk about how New Yorkers are adjusting to some of the national issues that we're watching as well.
And Governor, if you can't find anybody else to interview, I'll be sitting there right next to you.
John, that is the best compliment I could get today. So I should probably just get off this show right now. And we move on to John Sterling, the old voice of the Yankees, the man who's known for saying it is high, it is far, it's gone. He will be with us in just a few minutes. And we thank you all for listening to the show today.
I go back to Phil Rizzuto. Holy cow,
Holy
there
cow.
it goes.
Absolutely. The Yankees shortstop who became one of the great announcers along with Mel Allen. Remember him? And
of course, who could forget Mel Allen?
Mel Allen. And Red Barber did a commentary for the Yankees late in his career. He had been the Dodgers play-by-play man. And so now that we've exhausted the sports issues, we're going to step aside and thank Mr. Catsimatidis for right in the middle of his Labor Day weekend coming and joining us. And we are going to hope that all of you enjoy the rest.
Thanks for listening to The Left versus the Right. You can hear The Left versus the Right Saturday afternoons at 4. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?